If your calories are low, but your results are worse, this episode is for you. Or if you're someone who's hit a plateau with their fat loss, or you could be someone who struggled with yo-yo dieting, losing weight, gaining it back. It pretty much applies to most of us, right? You need to reverse diet and you need to implement that the right way so you can supercharge your metabolism and turn your body into a fat burning machine. And if I'm honest, 70 to 80% of the people that I coach, they actually have to reverse diet straight away. And it's actually magical what happens when you do this the right way, especially if you want to achieve sustainable fat loss. Now, let me tell you why most people are stuck, right? Eating low calories, feeling like crap, spinning their wheels, losing weight, gaining their back, can't seem to stay lean all year round, which, like I said before, I find easy now because I unintentionally have gone through periods of reverse dieting. I did intentionally once after a comp, but you're not going to be able to sustain what you're doing it that way. You're not going to be able to get to that next level of leanness if you don't reverse diet the right way, because dieting down, what does that mean? You're restricting calories. You're taking your calories lower and lower to lose fat. And then where do you go from there? When you keep taking them down and down and down, you get to a point where, let's just say you're on 1,000 calories. What do? Keep going down? No, it's not sustainable. And it's actually bad for your health physiologically, but psychologically, the damage that does as well is it actually can promote binge eating, emotional eating, and just a poor relationship with food, right? So look, if you're someone, these are the people that need it, right? If you feel like you've been in the deficit for too long, prolonged deficit, which needs to happen for fat loss, for a significant amount of fat loss anyway. But if you feel like you've done that for a long time and you've plateaued with your fat loss and your results, this is for you, reverse dieting. Also, if you're someone who feels hungry a lot of the times, right, and your energy's low or your energy's up and down, then you need to reverse diet, especially if you're feeling hungry all the time. Remember, the number one thing that stops people from getting the results in terms of sustainable weight loss and just next level results with their leanness is hunger, being too hungry, not being able to manage hunger, not eating in a way where it's fueling their body to support what they're doing day to day. And that leaves you hungry, and then you end up just rebounding, right? Also, if you're someone who's gained a significant amount of weight after a diet, or you tend to gain weight easy as well, that's another one, right? Where you find you haven't got any wiggle room, right? Feels like whatever you do, you might slip once, or it feels like you haven't got much leeway without gaining weight. But definitely the people who've gained weight after a diet, this happens because look, the strategy that gets you to lose weight, fat loss, is not the same strategy that you have to implement to keep that weight off. It's a completely different strategy. You have to go into a maintenance phase. Let's say you've dropped a load of fat over like a 3-month period. I'm just going to use that 3 months as a guideline, as a rough timeline. After that, you want to bump into maintenance for the most part, depending on how much fat you've got to lose and where you're at psychologically and your experience with training, strength training, and what type of strength training you're doing. But generally, you want to go into maintenance calories for a month or two after that, at least a month, to balance your hormones out. Or you need to reverse diet, especially if you've like done it for a longer period. Let's say, 6 months or whatever, you've lost a significant amount of weight, sometimes longer than that. Then you need to reverse diet more aggressively. Not aggressively, it needs to be slowly to start with, but you want to reverse diet, which I'll get to exactly how you do that now, after a prolonged period of losing weight. So another thing is like women, if you're missing periods and stuff, right, or you're noticing issues with hormonally, that's a sign. You need to reverse diet. Low libido, this could be men or women, right? Lower testosterone levels, obviously, if you're going to diet down and you're going to restrict calories and put your body under that stress time and time again to lose weight, you're going to drop your testosterone levels. Your hormone profile is going to be all messed up. And that's going to mean you're going to have to change what you're doing, right? So another one is lifting hard, right? When you're lifting hard and heavy, you feel like you're going for it in the gym, but your strength's plateaued and you're not noticing you're making progress in the gym, that's a sign that your body is not getting what it needs in terms of fuel. And again, your testosterone levels and even the estrogen levels as well, particularly for women, are suboptimal or too low. You're going to hit a wall. So another big one, right, I want to touch on is in terms of calories, right? If you're someone, with clients I take on, I'll never get them having less than 1,500 calories in any case. Why? Because I've coached so many people. Number one, when you're under 1,500 calories, it's very easy to get suboptimal nutrients. especially with fats as well, right? With essential fatty acids, and not even just essential fats that you need to survive, monounsaturated fats. They all have their purpose when it comes to hormone, brain health, anti-inflammatory properties. All these things, it's hard to get them in when you're having low calories. But more importantly, psychologically, right? If you're having 1,500 calories or less, how the hell do you sustain that? If you're someone, for example, it's not uncommon for me to coach women in the past where they've come to me and they're on like 1,000 calories to 1,200 calories. 1,200 calories. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always a time where people think they're eating low calories when they're not, because they're not accounting for the extra calories that come in on the weekends or snacks. But sometimes it's been true where a woman's eating like 1,300 calories, for example, and she can't lose weight, or even lower sometimes, 1,200 calories. This may resonate with you if you're a female. And where do they go from there, right? You can't keep going down, like I said earlier, from there. So you have to go where? Up. You have to reverse diet the smart way, where you partition the extra food that you have it into strength, muscle gain, and speed of metabolism up, which I'll get to. But for guys, for example, I've come across like, 200-pound men, for example, in the past, where they've been eating like 2,000 calories and less than that, sorry. They've basically, their maintenance calories is like 2,000 calories or less, right? Maybe even 1,800 calories. What does that mean? To lose fat, let's say your maintenance calories are 1,800 as a man, you weigh 200 pounds, you have to go down to 1,500 calories to even have any chance of losing fat. Not good for you at all, right? So they're definitely signs if you're having really low calories, like I said at the start, and you don't feel like psychologically you can keep going like that and you keep rebounding. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? The famous Einstein quote. But people do that time and time again when it comes to getting in shape or weight loss. With this fitness thing, health and fitness and, metabolic health, people get it messed up. And it's crazy how we lie to ourselves and we keep going, no, this time is going to be different, right? I'm going to try this different diet. I'm going to try this different. No, you're still restricted. Right. And it has a shelf life, a lifespan in terms of how long you can do that for. So what dieting does to your body, right? When you're dieting down, there's research to show now, when you lose weight, gain it back, lose weight, gain it back, keep doing that like most people. And by the way, 6 out of 7 people have actually lost a significant amount of weight in their lifetime. 6 out of 7, over 90%, I think the research shows now, and gained it all back and more. And that and more part, when you gain even more fat back over time, because essentially that's what you're doing. You're getting fatter over time when you're losing weight and gaining it back. Simple way to put it, right? But brutal, but that's the way it is. The research shows now that actually your body creates permanent fat cells. So what happens is, obviously, when you diet down, your fat cells shrink, but they don't disappear, right? And that's why rebounding gets worse every time. And then you might find, you're going on a vacation or you got a special occasion or whatever, and you want to drop that extra bit of fat, or you might just want to do that in general. And you get to a point where you're like, that extra bit, we say then things like age, and obviously age plays a part, but I hear this all the time. Oh, it changed since I've got older. All right. Yeah, things change as you get older, but it's not, would you not think it's the fact that your body's in survival mode because you keep thrashing it and pulling away food from it for a short period, and then going back to old behaviors and eating, thinking that, okay, what's going to happen here? If you did it for one day, okay, cool. It's very hard to do that, though, because of psychological deprivation. And what this does when you're dieting down as well is, obviously, leptin levels drop by about 30 to 40% in some cases, right? Leptin is the satiety hormone. It's the number one hormone that tells you you're satiated, right? I believe it's produced in the gut, if I remember rightly. Ghrelin rises significantly. Even like, for example, I talked about sleep, right? Even one night's poor sleep can do this. That's why I say dieting is really important, that you get an optimal sleep, particularly when you're dieting. But anyway, ghrelin, more cravings, right? Because that's the hunger hormone that goes up. And not to mention thyroid as well, right? So T3 in particular drops, which equals slower metabolism, right? Because T3 is a fat burning hormone, essentially, right? So when that drops, that means a slower metabolism. And to be honest, right, it's crazy what's happened with clients. One client just came to mind then, I won't mention her name. She'd been on thyroxine, I think it was, thyroid medication for 2 years. After 4 months of reverse dieting, she went to the doctor. The doctor was blown away. He was like, what have you been doing? Your thyroid system and T3 is balanced out. It's in the optimal range. You don't need medication anymore. right? We can pull that away. So unbelievable, right? And that was from 4 months. I'll explain exactly what you need to do now of reverse dieting. It literally fixes so many things. I've had people, more importantly, the psychological piece, right? And I've done this myself. Like I say, it was kind of not consciously reverse dieting, but I was doing that to get me out of the kind of binge eating stuff I used to struggle with back in the day. But clients where they've been yo-yo dieting for years, they've had cravings they can't manage, they just feel like they're spinning their wheels. They reverse diet for 6 months, ideally, I find this is the sweet spot. Around about 6 months of just focusing on reverse dieting, strength training appropriately, not overdoing cardio, scaling back the cardio, and they've literally overcome years, even in a short time, to be honest, like 2 3 months I've had that happen, where they've overcome years of restrictive yo-yo dieting and essentially gaining weight, all or nothing, right? So it works wonders for a lot of people. Testosterone levels drop, like I said earlier, and cortisol rises, right, when you're dieting, because it's a seesaw, like I said before. So cortisol's up, testosterone's down, testosterone's up, cortisol's down. It's literally a seesaw, quite simple. Cortisol is the number one stress hormone, of course. When that's elevated too high, that will ruin everything, essentially. Sleep, stress, mental health, everything. NEAT as well, right? So what happens is when people are dieting is a lot of the times they actually move less without knowing, right? And then so your activity throughout the day actually reduces if you're not aware of it, especially when you've dieted several times and you're doing crazy cardio, because that's what people do, right? This is what feeds into the problem why most people need a reverse diet. They'll change never do this when you're trying to lose fat, right? Everyone does it, most people. They go, right, I want to lose fat. Cardio and restrict calories. Never do both at the same time, right? It's very simple, but don't do that. Everyone with fitness and weight loss and with any results we want in life, we all wanted it yesterday. They think it's a sprint, and it's actually a marathon, right? And I know you hate to hear that, but if you want to keep that weight off, it's a marathon. It takes time to build that foundation. So if you want to lose fat, do one of the two. Increase calorie output by walking more or even doing a bit of cardio. I'd recommend walking though. Or take your calories down. Don't do both. Pick one each time, right? So yeah, ultimately, when you're dieting, your body thinks you're starving, right? And it'll just fight. It'll just fight fat loss with everything it's got. Remember, your body just always wants to create that balance of homeostasis, right? It wants to be in balance. It wants to survive. And it'll fight to get to the weight it wants to be at, right? So you might have this random number in your head. That's another thing. People have these random numbers in terms of what they want to weigh on the scales, which doesn't make any sense because you need to be focusing on body composition. Most of the time, doesn't make any sense. Sometimes, for example, I feel better at a certain weight, but it's a body composition thing as well, right? So anyway, it'll fight to stay at the same weight. So whatever weight you want to be at, great. Body doesn't matter. It'll fight to get at the weight that it wants to be at, right? So remember that. So look, let's get into exactly what happens when you reverse diet, right? And how I do this with clients. So let me give you some examples, right? I mentioned one client earlier. An average, right? How I do this with clients is, say, for example, I have a client come in, they want to lose fat, right? This is what happens most of the time. I want to lose stubborn fat, or I want to get to the next level of leanness, right? I'll have a look at where they're at. I'll see where their metabolism is at, right? And their maintenance calories. And then from there, I'll go, okay, so you want to lose fat. Do you want to keep it off, or do you want to just lose it short term? Obviously, they say you want to keep her off. Great. This is what we're going to do, right? And it really depends on the person, right? So if I have someone come in who's got more body fat, like a bigger reservoir of fat to lose, then what we'll do is we'll just focus on the basics, right? And it depends on how that's going to look. But literally, it works magic when you're hitting a protein target, a consistent protein target. You're doing strength training properly, right? These are the two most important things, right? I don't want to go off on a tangent too much, but this ties into reverse dieting because the strength training is essential if you want to reverse diet properly. It's not like a option, it's essential. You have to do it, right? And you have to do it properly for your body, and for like each training phase, which I'll get to, needs to be shifted based on the calories. The calories need to be shifted and increased essentially every training phase. So I'll get them to do the strength training. I forgot where I was going to go with that now, right? But essentially, that's it. The two most important things, right, when it comes to building muscle and getting your physique to the next level is the training stimulus, which people overlook. People always say, oh, it's diet and it's the types of protein. That bullshit. None of it matters if you haven't got the right training stimulus and you're not hitting optimal protein levels, right? So if we just I like to round it off for optimal results, a gram per pound of body weight. To keep it simple, people always try and split hairs. Oh, but what I thought it was 0.9. I thought it was per. I thought it was goal weight. I thought it was per pound of the lean. But if you have 1 gram per pound of body weight, you can't go wrong. The end, right? So if you sometimes if you're in a big deficit, even higher than that is better. But that normally cuts it. So you're doing that, you got the right training stimulus, you're going to get great results when it comes to building muscle, right? And getting to the next level with your physique. So that's what I'll look at. Those two things first, right? Getting the right intensity as well and doing the right, like with training, you want to be doing, it depends, right? But the research shows 10 to 20. I think 20 sets is a bit too much each week on each body part. 10 to 20 sets, each body part, each week, not session, right? Over a week. So you could do, for example, I think 20 sets is excessive for most people. Even if we say 15, 5 sets on a Monday on one body part, 5 sets on a Wednesday, 5 sets on a Friday, right? Or you can split that into like a push-pull. You need to stop, if you're hitting every body part twice per week and you've covered that part, you need to stop shy of 1 to 3 reps of failure. So stop 1 to 3 reps shy of failure. You're not going to failure. And it needs to be frequently, right? So like I say, hit everybody. And that's pretty much in a nutshell. There's other variables, of course. If you're only training the body part once in a week, then you want to be going to failure, to be honest, for maximum results. And that's it, really. It's not that complicated, but it is very complex when it comes to the right training stimulus, because you have to get the sweet spot there. Intensity as well, right? Now, look, what I wanted to say next is, oh, and by the way, I've created a reverse dieting guide, right? It's literally the ultimate shred, long-term shred blueprint. Okay, I know I like to use those words, but this one is a long, like if you want, it's one thing shredding, it's another thing shredding for life. So this reverse dieting guide, I've mapped everything out in there for you, exactly what you need to do. I've even put a specific calorie and macro calculator in there based on your specific results that you want and your body type and everything else. And it's absolute gold, right? Just created this just for you because I know you need it, most of you, right? So if you want this anyway, I'm going to explain to you now. So hold fire. I put it in the show notes, right? Click the link and it's yours. Very simple, right? So let me tell you though now, hold fire, because this pretty much is very simple in terms of how you do it. So the research shows, right, it depends on the person, depends on how long you've been dieting for, but 50 to 100 calories per week you want to add. That's kind of a conservative amount. Add to your total calorie intake. Sometimes 100 to 200 calories per week, depending on where you're at. And that's why it's kind of hard to gauge on your own, but you can figure it out, right? It's better to start conservative. I always say, if you start conservative, it's harder to go wrong. If you start aggressive, you can easily gain a bunch of body fat real quick. Don't forget, when you've been dieting for a long time, it sounds simple and easy. Just going to increase my calories a bit. Very hard. The second you start increasing a bit, you want to eat more. You want to eat more. Your body's like, feed me, feed me, feed me. So it can be really, really challenging, right? So add 50 to 100 calories per week on average, let's say. Now, how I do it with clients is I do it per month. So every 4 weeks. So generally, the training programs that I create, they're all individualized for clients, of course, but they're about 12 weeks long, give or take. And each training phase is 4 weeks long. So it's 3 4-week phases, if you're with me, right? 12 weeks. So at the end of each 4-week phase, I'll then increase their calories, because as you got a new training stimulus, and I covered the stimulus stuff earlier, right? Then a different training stimulus is example. First 4 weeks, we're going to focus on strength and lower rep range. Next 4 weeks, we're going to do 8 to 10 reps, and we're going to focus on slow tempo reps. For example, the weeks 8 to 12, the last phase of the training program, we're going to do more pump adaptation type training, right? Where it's higher reps, 12 to 20 reps, for example, right? With a lighter weight. So the different types of stimulus and rep ranges and intentions with each training phase. So I would say on average, it's around about, depending on the person, around about 100 to 200 calories per training phase per 4 weeks on average. I like to do, again, I like to be conservative, and I like the person to not gain body fat in terms of a percentage of their body fat. The body fat percentage stays the same, and then boom, they build muscle by just having that little increase of calories, right? Now, that's, if it depends on how much body fat they've got to lose, right? If someone's got fat they want to lose instantly, then we'll do that straight away, right? We'll go straight into a fat loss phase, but we'll do that in a strategic way where I'm getting them to eat more protein reduce cardio and focus on strength training the smart way. And then obviously specific types of food and lean cuts, like we get it really dialed in. So then they will actually lose fat. So it'll be actually fat loss. But what they're doing simultaneously, these people who've got more fat to lose, they can actually build muscle and lose fat on this process. And we'll do that. We'll shred down some fat and then we'll go into reverse diet. And after that, but for some people who need to get straight into it, how we'll do it is, like I say, 100 to 200 calories a month on average every 4 weeks, and then slowly increase those calories. And all of those calories, because we do it very strategically, get partitioned into muscle gain and strength. So they don't gain any body fat. They're building muscle. They feel amazing. Obviously, energy levels go up, balancing the hormones out. And the beautiful thing as well about eating more fats, a lot of people, they don't have optimal amounts of fats or the right balance of like omega-3s and to omega-6s and even saturated fats. Some people are afraid of. So when you add those in, boom, they start noticing that get way stronger as well. Cholesterol's another one as well. Some people, they have suboptimal amounts of cholesterol to assist increase in testosterone levels. Right now, cholesterol acts as a steroid hormone in the body. So having more egg yolks, for example, or eggs, chicken liver, if you can deal with them, a lot of people can't, but even just having more eggs, cholesterol, it actually boosts strength and it increases testosterone and actually improves recovery, right? So yeah, so that actually works as well. And then yeah, depending on the person, depending on how long they've struggled with yo-yo dieting for, like I say, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months of this process, and then we'll throw in some little mini cuts along the way, where it's like literally, sometimes we might even do like over the 6 months, we'll do like on one of the training phases for 3 or 4 weeks, we'll throw in a cut to shred a little bit fat along the way, and then boom, we'll go back into the reverse dieting. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes in a nutshell. But what you want to do, and don't worry, I'll put this into the guide that I want to give you. Basically, you want to track your weight, your strength, your mood, your energy, your health markers, and all that kind of stuff. I put like a tracker in there anyway if you want to utilize that. But in general, right, women, you want to increase in total, right? So imagine this, right? So you basically start reverse dieting, your maintenance calories, you've been yo-yo dieting. Let's just say, to throw a number out there, your maintenance calories are sitting at like 1,500, right? Your maintenance calories, right? That's how much your body's burning each day with all the activity you do, and just to keep the lights on, right? Your basal metabolic rate. When you do reverse dieting, for example, you do it the smart way, and you did that for, let's say you did that for a 6-month period, without you doing any extra activity or any manual calorie burning like cardio, your body over that period of time is going to be burning, let's say over 6 months, let's say even if it was a moderate amount, right? Modest amount, 100 calories per month extra you're eating. That's the very lowest conservative amount, right? Over 6 months, that's an extra 600 calories that your body's burning by itself, right? By you doing no extra. So you've gone from 1,500 calories maintenance to, let's just say, 2,000 to 2,100 calories just to maintain your weight. So this is the beautiful thing now, right? This is the kicker. When it comes to you losing fat then and wanting to do a shred, you're already in the shape of your life aesthetically by building muscle for that period of time when you do it properly anyway, for most people depending. But then the next level physique then is obviously shredding the fat. So let's just say, for argument's sake, this 6 months, 2,000 calories, let's just say, right, your maintenance calories are now from 1,500 just from building muscle, right? Remember, the whole pursuit of building muscle means people actually, their body burns more calories, right? Muscle tissue is expensive. It costs your body a lot of calories to keep it on your body. Now, despite the research on this, they still can't monitor it properly, because skeletal muscle, they can't. I think I heard Dr. Gabrielle Lyons saying this, right? It'll say, for example, in research, like 13 calories or 6 to 13 calories per pound of muscle. That's how much it burns. But it's actually showing way more than that. And based on what I've seen, like I said to you, it's more like 100, like just by the pursuit of building muscle. And a lot of people have more protein as well. Remember, more protein speeds the metabolism up as well. People's body is burning way more calories by itself. So imagine you go for over 6 months of increasing, let's say 100 calories a month. Let's just say that's a conservative amount. Like I said, boom, you want to go into a deficit then after that 6 months and get to the next level, your physique. You just basically go back down to where you were eating before, right? Go back down to 1,500, change nothing else, and your body starts shredding fat. So that's a great place to be. But at that point as well, psychologically, you don't feel like you're dieting. You don't feel restricted anymore. You feel like finally I can get lean. In fact, I like to get people to a point where like they're struggling to get the food in, right? Where they turn around and they go, Matt, I'm struggling to get this food in now. Great. All we can do now, let's say 6 months of reverse dieting, you're struggling to get the food in. Okay, let's take away, I don't know, this half an avocado and a little bit of rice, for example, right? Let's just take that away, keep everything else the same. That reduces 500 calories. Boom, start losing fat. And it feels easy then. In fact, it feels really easy because it was a challenge to get the food in before. You see what I mean? So, but it, where people go wrong, it's critical you get this right, because most people go wrong where they just gain loads of body fat when they're doing it, right? And they get into their own head along the way, right? This is why I like progress photos and metrics, because you've got peace of mind. Like with my clients, let's say every other week or every training phase, for example, on average every 4 weeks, we'll do the photos, we do all the body stats each week just in terms of the weigh-ins, but we'll do that every 4 weeks. And it's like peace of mind then as well, right? Because you build a muscle, getting stronger, you feel better, your energy levels up. And all these reports I get, people sleep better as well, right? Because their cortisol levels have dropped. Serotonin levels are up, melatonin levels are up, right? And all these health markers are going in the right direction. And they start hitting PB. This is a big thing that I love as well, is when you eat to build, right? I always say this, right? That's what you want your mantra to be for the most part. And it doesn't mean people, when they say build, they think, oh, I'm going to get massive and I'm going to be jacked, I'm going to be bulky. You're not, right? I've been doing this for 20 years. And it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like overnight you're jacked, and it's not that easy to build muscle. I eat to build, right? That's what you want to be telling yourself. I eat to perform, or I eat to build. And when you have that mindset, then you're eating to fuel your body, right, for performance, and you get stronger, you get PBs, you're feeling your body better, you're getting more nourishment. This is a big thing as well, right? And I've had clients as well, particularly female clients, say their hair's grown and stuff, right? That's mainly from having optimal protein primarily. But just from fueling their body to actually build muscle. And remember, muscle is the longevity organ as well, right? About 40% of your body on average is skeletal muscle. Skin's only 13%. You know, we were told like skin's the biggest organ in the body. It's not. It's skeletal muscle. And basically, the more muscle you've got on your body, number one, the better you look as a byproduct. Because when you add a bit of muscle to your body, if your body fat even stayed the same, you look tighter and more toned when you do that, because muscle is dense tissue. Also, you will live longer, and physical strength is the number one indicator of longevity, right? How physically strong you are when you do the grip test. So it all ties into health, longevity, and looking and feeling at your best. But if you want to get that next level of leanness, you want to lose fat, and you want to be able to keep it off forever, you'll likely have to go through a process of reverse dieting the right way. All right. And it's as simple as that. So yeah, definitely want to track everything when you're doing it. You want to do your measurements. You want to see your body measurements, or even better, I would say even better than that, to be honest, is do like a body stat machine. If you've got one of them in the gym, or scales at home, even if they're not bang on, none of them are bang on accurate, just consistent data is the most important thing. But ideally a DEXA scanner. If you do a DEXA, right, find one in your area, do one of them every 3 to 6 months. And that picks up on everything then, right? So really, you want to, when you reverse dieting, if you can just, like, when it comes to bulking, right? Let's say bulking, building muscle. The reality is, if you want to do it the right way, you have to get over that psychological barrier of building muscle. If you want to really build and do it at a fast pace, so you can get into the shape of your life, a good ratio of like a proper building phase, for example, right, is, and we've tracked this on like DEXA scanners, you want to be gaining twice as much muscle as you are body fat, right, in pounds or kilos. And if you're doing that, you look way better, right? And you don't see the body fat anyway. And your body fat as a percentage of your total weight, for example, stays roughly the same, right? And when it comes to reverse dieting as well, it depends on the person, but ultimately how much fat they've got to lose as well, right? Some people, their weight doesn't change that much over a period of 3 to 6 months if they've got more fat to lose. And some people, they actually just shred fat when they reverse diet, because the metabolism speeds up. It's a magical thing they're still figuring out, right? When you fuel your body more and you're healthy, your metabolism speeds up and burns more calories, right? But really, your weight could stay the same. I've had that happen to people before, where they've had a nice little exchange, even whilst reverse dieting, of building muscle and losing a bit of fat, because some days they're in a surplus of calories on training days, for example. Other days they're in a deficit, so they're losing fat on those days. So it's a nice little trade there. But if you're already, it depends on how much body fat you've got to lose. If you're already relatively lean, and it depends on genetics as well, then you want to just build twice as much muscle as you are body fat when you're bulking and building. And that is the sweet spot, right? And the body fat, like I say, as a percentage stays roughly the same. But if you want to do an aggressive build as well, just on this topic, you don't want to be gaining any more than about 1 to 2 pounds a month, I would say, or 1 to 3 pounds maximum, when you're really going aggressive with the building, per month. And any more than that, you're just going to gain a bunch of fat, right? So yeah, so the goal, look, with reverse dieting is to eat more, feel better, stay lean, not blow up like a lot of people, not gain body fat, right? If you do it the right way, the reverse dieting, slow and steady. If you do an aggressive building, that's different. Like I say, if you can get twice as much muscle as body fat, yes. And that's the way you want to do it, right? And then you're ready to shred and ultimately do it the right way, where you're not damaging your body and you can stay lean and healthy all year round. All right. With that, ladies and gents, don't forget to grab the reverse dieting shred guide beneath. And that is going to be absolute gold for you, right? So do not miss out on that. I've even put a training program in there for you as well, right? So you know exactly what to do. Saying what I was saying earlier, rather than you having to think about or even ask ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is great, but what I know that what research shows is actually not always the right thing, right? A lot of people, they start off doing too much with training, right? So this is all taking that into account. So go get that anyway. Click the link in the bio. Oh, by the way, if you do want to find out more about my coaching program and how you can get into the shape of your life physically and mentally, then all I want you to do is just click the link beneath. My website is there, optimizeyourbody.com, and you can fill out a quick form there. You can fill out the inquiry form there, so I know what you're struggling with and see if I can help you. But even better, just DM me on Instagram at Martin Silva Fitness. That's the best way to do it, to be honest, because then we can connect quicker. And either way, I'm happy to help, right? So at Martin Silva Fitness on Instagram, or click my website, optimizeyourbody.com below, to inquire about my coaching program.